My name is Ella Laner Grace Whitmore. I'm 68, and for almost 50 years, I was a wife, a mother, and the quiet heart of Hazelbrook Orchards, our small organic apple farm tucked into the green folds of Pennsylvania's hills. My hands, stiff with arthritis, still remember how to knead sourdough before sunrise and prune apple trees alongside my husband, Richard. 3 weeks ago, I buried him. We'd been married since 1981, building everything together, the orchard, the home, the life we thought would anchor our children. The morning after the funeral, I realized I might have been wrong. Richard's death came after 14 months of pancreatic cancer, the slow theft of a strong man's body. He hadn't wanted the children to know. Let them live without the shadow a little longer, he'd whispered one night, morphine dulling his voice. I'd agreed. But Darren and Samantha had drifted long before the diagnosis. Darren buried himself in Boston's financial world, visiting only a few weekends in over a decade. Samantha drifted from one doomed wellness venture to the next, each funded by Richard's generosity, and always in need of just one more loan. I thought grief might pull them home again. Instead, when they arrived, I saw not children mourning their father, but professionals calculating assets. The day after the funeral, I suggested we sort through Richard's belongings together, a small ritual to hold on to memories. They had other plans. Morning light spilled through the lace curtains Richard and I had chosen 30 years ago. I brewed the simple coffee he liked and waited at the kitchen table. They came downstairs dressed for a boardroom, Darren in a blazer, Samantha in a silk blouse and perfect curls. Mom, Darren began, placing his mug down with practiced precision. We've been talking. It's time to settle things, the estate, the business, the house. I blinked. Settle? You can't run the orchard alone, he said. The house is too big for someone your age. My age. I'd pruned those trees in blizzards, driven tractors, delivered crates to food banks, and kept the farm afloat through lean seasons. We want you comfortable, Samantha added in her smooth, sales pitch voice. There's a wonderful retirement community, Sunnyvale Estates. I busied myself with the plates, hiding my shaking hands, until Darren slid a folder toward me, corporate letterhead, a signature too neat to have been written in Richard's final months. This isn't from our lawyer, I said. He was lucid when he signed it, Darren insisted. There's a developer, Samantha added quickly, $7 million for the land, we'd all be set. A developer, concrete where our orchards bloomed. You're talking about selling your father's life's work, I said quietly. Be reasonable, Darren replied, the orchard can't last forever. I felt a slow, steady fury rise in me. Show me the will. He did. I didn't touch it. Instead, I told them we'd talk tomorrow, knowing there would be no tomorrow conversation. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in our bed, hearing the familiar creaks of the farmhouse, the wind in the apple trees, and the new, hollow silence between me and my children. By morning, their imported coffee scented the kitchen. They were ready to leave. My suitcase wasn't mine. We'll drive you to Sunnyvale today, Samantha said brightly. I'm not going to a retirement community, I replied. Darren checked his watch. The paperwork's done. You can't stay here. This is my home, I said. It's all of ours, he countered. Dad left it to us. Time to let go. I told them I needed my medication, and maybe some family photos. Upstairs, I gathered my pills, but also the fireproof box hidden behind Richard's old flannels. Inside was the original deed to 20 acres in my maiden name, land essential to any development, land they couldn't touch. When I came back down, my purse was heavier, my face was calm. We drove past the blooming fields, the school, the library, then Darren turned onto a remote gravel road. 20 minutes later, he stopped beside an empty field. This is where you get off, Mom, he said, as if announcing a detour. The house and business are ours now. Samantha's smile faltered. Darren, what? She'll contest the will. This is cleaner. She has clothes, her meds. There's a gas station 5 miles up. Darren opened my door, just like that. They left me on the side of a lonely road with nothing. Or so they thought. The car disappeared in a cloud of dust, leaving behind the acrid tang of betrayal. I stood still, wind tugging at my coat, clutching the small suitcase they had packed. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't broken. I was free. I turned away from the gas station Darren had so generously suggested and started walking toward town. My flats weren't made for gravel, and the spring sun was already warming the back of my neck, but with each step my purpose hardened. In my purse was everything I needed: ID, passport, medication, and the original deed to 20 acres of prime orchard land, bought in my name before Richard and I married. Richard once called it our just-in-case safety net. Now it was my lifeline. Those acres held the orchard's only natural water source. Without it, no irrigation. Without irrigation, no orchard. And without the orchard, no development. My children thought they had me cornered. They didn't understand the soil they stood on. They didn't understand legacy. I did. 2 hours later, with blisters blooming on my feet, I reached Hazelbrook's edge and the familiar sight of Miller's Gas Grocery, same hand-painted sign, same glass door that jingled when it opened. I sat on the bench outside, a tired old woman with a suitcase, but inside, I carried something far more dangerous than grief, the truth. Ray Miller stepped out, wiping his hands on his apron. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said, brow creasing, "you all right?" "Just resting, Ray, been a long day." His eyes dropped to the suitcase, then back to me. "Real sorry about Richard. He was a good man." "Yes," I said quietly, "yes, he was." He hesitated. "You need to use the phone? If it's no trouble." He led me past shelves of canned peaches and dusty cereal boxes to the back office. I dialed a number from memory, our family lawyer, Harold Jennings. "Naomi?" He answered on the first ring. "I've been trying to reach you. I expected you at the will reading." My grip tightened. "What reading?" A pause. Darren presented a will. It didn't match the one Richard and I updated last year. "I need your help," I said, "and your discretion." "You have both." My office. 1 hour. Before leaving, I asked Ray for a prepaid phone and a bottle of water. He refused my money. "On the house, you need anything else, you just say." Kindness almost undid me, but I didn't cry for Richard, and I wouldn't cry now. There was work to do. Harold's office occupied the second floor of an old Victorian on Main Street. His secretary, Helen, ushered me in with wide eyes. Harold didn't waste time with desk formalities, just sat me by the window and listened while I told him everything: the funeral, the fake will, the kitchen ambush, the drive, the roadside abandonment. When I was done, I set the fireproof box in his lap. Inside was the deed. He studied it in silence. "This is gold, Naomi. They can't touch the orchard without this land, not with the water rights and zoning." "I know." He leaned back. "The will Darren brought me is a forgery, too perfect a signature for a man on morphine. We'll challenge it, but that takes time. Meanwhile, this deed is your shield." "I want my home back," I said, "and I want them to understand what they've done." "Then they will," Harold said. "First, I'll make the developer aware the deal is poisoned. No full land rights, no sale." By noon the next day, Harold had filed an injunction to freeze any transfer of Hazelbrook orchards. The developer, blindsided and wary of lawsuits, began to retreat. "I told them the truth," Harold said. "Your children don't have the authority they claim, and now, they never will." That evening, my prepaid phone lit up with a message from Samantha, the first since they'd left me on the roadside. "Mom, please call me, we need to talk. Darren's freaking out. We didn't know about that other land. Can we just fix this?" Fix this? No apology, no acknowledgement of what they'd done, just panic now that their payday was slipping away. I didn't reply. Later, Darren called Harold directly, demanding explanations, trying to regain control. Harold cut him off. All communication would go through legal channels. "They're realizing," Harold told me, "that they miscalculated badly. They thought I had nothing left," I said, "but I had everything they forgot to value." He studied me for a moment. "You're handling this with grace, Eleanor. A lot of people would have gone scorched earth." "I've lived too long with kindness in my bones to become bitter now," I said, "but I won't be silent either." Outside, Hazelbrook carried on, kids on bikes, a dog barking, the hum of a lawnmower somewhere down the street. Life here was still simple, still honest. I intended to keep it that way. The land would not be sold, not now, not like this. Richard's orchard was not a commodity, it was home, and I wasn't done protecting it. I didn't return to the farmhouse. Instead, I rented a small apartment above the bakery on Main Street, just big enough for a rocking chair and a few pots of herbs on the balcony. Every morning, the smell of cinnamon and bread drifted up through my windows. It wasn't the home Richard and I built, but it was mine. I began teaching again, quilting on Wednesdays at the community center, gardening workshops at the library on weekends. People came, teenagers, retirees, young couples dreaming of their own farms. They listened because I spoke with history in my hands, the story of land worth tending. I placed the orchard's water rights in trust with the Hazelbrook Agricultural Cooperative so they'd be used, not sold. That was the future I wanted, trees cared for, not bulldozed. Darren and Samantha kept their distance. Word around town was the developer had walked away. The will was under formal challenge, and their reputations were fraying. I didn't gloat. Truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. The orchard bloomed that spring, untouched. Every time I passed it, I smiled, not in triumph, but with the quiet strength of someone who had taken back not just her land, but her voice. I think often of that day on the gravel road, standing alone with a suitcase I didn't pack, watching my own children drive away. It should have broken me. It didn't. Because in that silence, I finally understood, love is not blind loyalty, and motherhood does not mean swallowing betrayal simply because it comes from your own blood. They believed I was too old, too alone, too lost to fight back, but they forgot something. Before I was a wife, a mother, a widow, I was Eleanor Grace, a woman who built something with her hands, her mind, her heart. I have never needed to raise my voice to be strong. What they mistook for weakness, my patience, my trust, my love, was the very power that shielded me. So if you've ever been cast aside, underestimated, treated like a footnote in your own life, hear me, strength isn't in how loudly you fight, but in how deeply you know what you stand for. When you stand your ground, even quietly, the echo outlives any betrayal. My orchard still stands, my name is still on the deed, and my life is mine again. To anyone told, this is where you get off, I say, walk if you must, but take your worth with you, walk with purpose, walk with quiet power, and when the time comes, tell your story. It might just save someone else.